Book War! It feels like it has been a very long time since I have chatted with you. We are just gonna get going here. Hattie is gonna be popping on and we'll get her set up and then we'll talk some books. Really hope you've been having a really lovely summer so far. Oh, awesome. Let's send. Yep. Oh, crossing our fingers. She picked the right network tonight. I believe in you, sis. Hi, sis.
Hi. Is it working?
Yeah. You're a little grainy, but it'll come through in a minute. There it comes.
Yeah.
Always take this again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that. But...
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it's bad. You know, I didn't check my network. Maybe I should log off and check my network and make sure I'm on the right one. Can you even hear me?
Yeah, no, I can hear you. Yep. Okay. A little bit. Big deal.
Okay. Okay. Just one.
We're going to go ahead and have Hattie check her network. You know what? This is just part of our regular routine here at the Book War. She probably was on the right network. Sometimes it's just funky on Sunday nights. I don't know what. I don't know if it's like Sunday nights, like when people do their stuff. I don't know, like their maintenance. But all to say, if you have some book recommendations or books that you've been loving or hating, we always do love to hear the books that you don't like either, to wave us away from. If you've read something and you're like, okay, this was like a huge deal and it was not worth it, we relish those as much as recommendations. So here we go. Let's see, Miss Hattie B. Here we go. Let's try it again. Take two. Take two. Maybe here it comes. Come on. I believe. That looks better.
Okay, take two. Is it better?
It looks better already.
Okay. That's a good sign.
Were you on the wrong network?
Honestly, when I went into my thing, it said that I wasn't connected to the Wi-Fi at all. So I'm just gonna. The Wi-Fi in this house, like my phone should always be connected to the Wi-Fi.
Yes, it should have.
But apparently it wasn't, so that was probably the problem. So hopefully it's working better now.
It's really funny. I shouldn't laugh. That's really funny to me. Okay, sorry. I don't know why that's really funny, but it's like you weren't even connected to the Wi-Fi.
Like my phone, like just was not connected. My phone should always be connected in the house. Like it's set up so that it's always connected in the house.
Automatically connects, right? Yeah.
But who knows? But anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's gonna work halfway decent. Hopefully now.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay, so tonight we are talking through just quick little snippets. Well, at least I have to do quick snippets because I have a lot of books to talk through because I was away for 10 days at a silent retreat. So I have to keep mine real short. But what we've just finished, what we are currently reading, and what we might be looking forward to coming in these next couple of weeks. So, sis, do you want to start? You want to start, or you want me to start with a couple of books from my retreat real quick?
Why don't you start with your retreat books? Because I think you have more than me. So why don't you start and get the ball rolling, and then I'll jump in.
Okay. So I did a lot of reading my magazines actually on retreat. So this will come as a shock that I actually don't have as many as I normally would after a retreat, but I did get through quite a few of my magazines that have been building up because I've not figured out how to get magazines read in my regular reading routine. So if anybody has an idea about that or like a good like suggestion around that, that would be helpful because I've been trying different things and so far they haven't really worked. But I mean, and then I just take them on a trip somewhere and I read them all at one sitting. It's still fine because I still love them. So, but the first book I think I finished actually there was called Dancing in the Darkness: Spiritual Lessons for Thriving in Turbulent Times by Otis Moss III, who is a fantastic preacher. If you have not heard Otis Moss III preach, worth it. Christian, not Christian, like it does not matter. The man can preach.
Yeah.
So he was my preacher. Like he was during the pandemic when I needed to like hear a word.
Yeah.
I would go to, they have a really good, his church, which I'm going to not remember right off the top of my head right now because it's in Chicago.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Trinity United Church of Christ. Yeah. Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago. They have a great Facebook page, great streaming, so definitely worth it. And this was very, very, very good. As a religious, theological, like, intellectual, like, because I'm who I am, it was written for just an average everyday person who is, and so for me on one hand I was like, oh, like I just wanted like to go deeper with a lot of it, but at the same time it is incredibly well done, as you can see by the mini, and it's only this big, it's a tiny little thing, it's like just a little over 100 pages, but it is a wonderful book for anybody who might just want some spiritual practices, some spiritual lessons, some around the pain of like life right now in general, and like social unrest and disorder, and like what are we going through and how do we like actually survive it together and thrive in it instead of just survive. So he does a really good job, and so I highly recommend it. I'm probably going to try and figure out a way to use it as like a group book, or even like I think it could be a really good sermon series, like a summer sermon series or something like that. So we'll see, but it was definitely worth it. The other nonfiction, I'll just do my 2 nonfiction here real quick that I did finish. It's actually sort of fiction. Is Fables and Spells by Adrienne Maree Brown. It's a newer collection. I've been working on it since about the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So it's poetry and short story is basically what it is. Yeah. Fables and Spells. And it is very good. Really, really good. I did get it finished finally. I come in and out of it quite a few times, but if you like, poetry is so subjective, and I also, like, as we all know, Adrienne Maree Brown for me is a person who, when she writes, and particularly her poetry and her work with emergent strategy, like, speak to my soul, like, in a way that just feels like I'm seen and heard, even though she often talks about stuff that's outside of my experience. So it's an interesting, weird little thing. But I did really enjoy it, and it was a nice thing to like pick up at little bits and read a while and then put it down for a while and then pick it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it was really nice to do it that way as well.
Yeah.
So those are my nonfiction that I got finished in the last 10 days.
In the last 10 days. Okay. I did not get that much nonfiction done in the last 10 days. I will share. This is one that I picked up from, this is called The Essential Feminist Reader.
Ooh, interesting.
This I picked up, it was on the Feminist Book Club marathon thing that we did. I can't remember what it's called now. I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'm like
the readathon.
Yeah, I'm just thinking on the name of that feminist. It is just Feminist Book Club. Is that what it is?
Feminist Book Club. Yeah, that's just what it's called.
Making it much harder. I thought it. Anyway, sorry. It's just
that is what it's called. Okay. When we did the bookathon on their recommendation list. Yeah. When we did the readathon.
And I picked it up like right away because I'm like, this looks amazing. And then I just started it, but it's so great because it's literally, this is what I read in the morning when I'm eating my breakfast. I read like one at a time. There's like 60 something. There's like 64. They're basically just short snippets, essays, just like parts of things that were important that feminists starting like back with Christine de Pizan, right? So I think it starts with her and it comes all the way, chronologically forward till now, around the world, from all different cultures, all different points of view, men and women who are writing feminist literature throughout sort of the ages, right? Starting with Christine de Pizan, all the way through the modern time. And it's fantastic. And I love that she really, like, what's included in here, it's like each little thing is like 5 or 6 pages, right? So it's literally like I can read it while I'm eating my breakfast, kind of like cogitate on it for a day, and then read the next one the next day, right? It doesn't feel like I have to like sit there and read them all at once because it's kind of fat. I mean, it's a big book, right?
This is
like Yeah, it's almost 500 pages, so it's a big one, you know. But it's like, okay, if I'm done by Christmas, that's fine, you know. But there's 60. I'm like, I'm a third of the way there. I'm like 23. I think I started it, I don't know, like the summer, maybe when the term ended, you know.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And it's so great to hear these voices from a different time, a different place, different cultures, and hear these voices that are speaking to a lot of the things that we're still sort of struggling with today, right? That they had these ideas long before we thought we came up with them. You know what I mean? Right. Like people recognizing that like stuff wasn't right.
This is the problem.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And it's just wonderful. And I just finished one that was sort of this dream, right? This woman's having this dream of what the world looks like, and it's just phenomenal, right?
Great.
I will tell you, Hannah, because like one of my biggest disappointments with that book, oh shoot, now I can't remember it. I had it in my head. It's that feminist book where all the women have all the power. It's called The Power. That's what it's called.
Oh, yeah. Which now has a show. They have a show. They did a show.
Yeah, I had so many issues with that book. Hannah knows I had so many issues with that book. And what I will say is the essay that was written that's in here, it does it's the same idea, right? Women are in charge and running things. And what she wrote was way better than what the author of The Power wrote. That's what I'm going to say. It was phenomenal. I can probably tell you what it is because I think it was the last one I read. Yeah, it's called Sultana's Dream. It was written by Rokia Sakhawat Hussain in India in 1905.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I might have to get that book. This is the problem with our book.
Feminist reader for a reason. It's really fantastic.
That's amazing. That sounds amazing. Yes. I'm a little jealous, and I'm fine. It's going to be fine.
You should definitely get it. Hannah, I'm honestly, don't tell Dad, but I have Dad's stocking for Christmas, and I'm getting him this book.
Okay.
Because Mom and Dad will love reading, like, an essay in the morning, out loud to one another. They'll love it. So, don't spoil it, but that's what Dad's getting.
No, I won't. I will. I'll forget. I will forget.
We'll absolutely forget. Okay, but that's the only nonfiction that I had. So why don't you go on with your fiction?
Okay.
Start us off on fiction.
Okay, I'll go through my fiction pretty quick. I heard my son running up the steps, and his father had to leave for a little bit, so he might interrupt in just a second with a ridiculous question, and that will be fine. Just letting you know.
That will be fine.
First, I finished Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, and I was so delightfully surprised by how much I loved this book. So, if it's been on your list, because it's been online for a long time, I've seen it, it's come through, like, I don't know. I picked it up at Half Price Books during June for LGBTQ, for Pride Month. They had a huge display. It was there. It was on sale, too. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to finally read this. It is so good. I was shook a little bit by how much I really liked it.
That's great.
So YA fantasy, a trans boy is the protagonist, and it is set in this it's in California, in LA. It's modern, but it's set in this kind of moment of around Dias de los Muertos. I think I said that.
Yeah.
Dia de los Muertos. I think I said it right.
Dia de los Muertos.
And like the mythology around that, and then like there's like powers around that. And it is, and I learned so much about all of that. And I was telling my mom and dad about it the other night while we were at the Mexican restaurant with my husband and our children, and my husband is Mexican. And so I'm asking him these questions, like, is this real? Is Lady Death like a thing? Which I'm like, I love the language, Lady Death. Like, I'm like, great language. For many reasons, this is great. But he's like, yeah, that's like, I go, like, the goddess? Because it seems like a goddess, like, in my language. He's like, yeah, it's a goddess. So we were talking about this, like, and then there's, like, this jaguar guy. He's like, yeah. So anyways, so my Mexican husband is approving, or is in agreement that it's like whatever, or what Aiden Thomas talks about is certainly correct, and they did a great job. And I just found myself really much more engaged than I thought I was going to be.
That's fantastic.
I mean, I read a lot of YA fantasy, and I like it, and it's entertaining, and I enjoy it, but I'm not like, oh, it was really good, guys.
That's great.
I also have to just say, whenever I'm on retreat, I do think I have like a much higher like capacity for absorption. So everything is also just like more beautiful and more wonderful. And I just need to like, I do acknowledge that that's true. Like in my day-to-day life, I might not have found it quite as
amazing.
But I did.
Yeah, that's fair.
So anything that I read while on retreat is always up for like, well, okay. This is another one though that I am like so excited about. Okay, this is called All Systems Red by Martha Wells, the Murderbot Diaries. And I actually picked this up, I think, at Content. I'm pretty sure it was at Content. Because there was a little, they do at Content, you know, they have like their, the people who work there write little blog, like little things about like recommendations or whatever. And this one was one of them. And she has a bunch of books. She's a very prolific writer, apparently with Tor. And, but it is just this fantastic little novella, like just over 100 pages. And it is hilarious. And this murder bot is so it's about consciousness. It's a made being, right? And in this world, there are humans, and then there are, I want to say aggregated. That's not the right word, but ones that have been given like human, but also like given augmented. That's the word I want. Augmented human.
Augmented. Okay, gotcha.
And then there's these fully made out of clone, partial machine, part flesh, because that's the word I can come up with right now. But that's not the right. That's not
organic.
That's it. Organic, like flesh. Anyway, but this particular one, and you find this out in the first page, so I'm not spoiling anything.
Okay, good job.
And it's on the back. But his hacked their like commander part. It's called their governor thing. Anyway, and they don't have a gender, have hacked that, and so they are discovering themselves. And then there's this like, you know, this thing that happens, and I won't spoil it. But I won't spoil it. But it is a delight, and watching them talk to humans and like this, the exchange. At one point, I am going to tell you this. I don't even care. It's so funny. It's really awkward. They don't like it. They don't like talking to humans. And so when they have to, and they use their helmet as a safety barrier, but when that helmet is gone, at one point, the humans kept asking really feeling questions. And so it just went to the back of the plane or the like spaceship thing and like turned into the corner and talked to the corner, answered the question. And so you just have, I shouldn't laugh, but it's just like, this is what I mean by like funny though, like that kind of funny, like that witty, like, but like how, like that's what we want to do when we're in awkward situations.
That is so like, what we want to do, like just legit. Like, can I just walk to the back of the room and not see? I'm just
gonna go stand in the corner, and I will answer your questions, but don't make me look at you. Don't make me interact with you. Like, anyway, there's just like these really beautiful little things like that throughout the whole thing, and I did read it a second time. I read it twice.
Oh my god.
Because you can you can do it in one sitting. I was like 15 minutes from the end, and I had to go to bed because I was so tired the second time. But I was like, I know what happens this time.
That's great.
But I read it in the morning before I got up, the last 15 minutes. And then my last one, real quick, is Jasmine Guillory's newest, Drunk on Love. It's been on my shelf since it came out. Just had to get a second to read it. And towards the end of my retreat, I usually like a little bit of like just fluff. And so good, solid romance. I enjoy her pacing. It is very, I've read a lot more modern romance or in the last few years, and what I think one of the things I like about Jasmine Guillory is she does maintain the rhythm and the expectations of like movement of like the older genre that I had read as a kid or as a young person growing up through my 20s, but mostly teens and 20s. Like she keeps that same, there's like a certain like this happens and then this, like that plot. She keeps the same kind of plot, but with a lot less tropes.
Yeah.
She still uses tropes, but with a lot less tropes and a lot less like destructive tropes and like grown people, which is really great and wonderful.
Yeah.
But I'm actually, I'll just do this real quick, but I'm currently also reading, I haven't finished it yet, this one. It's called 7 Days in June, which is also a modern romance. And I'm like, this is so, like, what is the, and that was finally when I figured out that's what the difference is. Like, Jasmine Guillory is, like, a really wonderful, and I'm liking this, by the way, but, like, I'll get there in a minute. But she just sits in those same rhythms.
Yeah.
And so it feels, even though other things are different, she sits in those rhythms, in my opinion, or at least the stuff that I had read. And I really like that about her, because I know what to expect, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes when I get a romance that's not like that, I'm like, what? Where are we? What's happening? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
It takes me a while. So for better or worse, and that's on me half the time. Like, breaking things is a good thing. As we all know, I'm totally fine with not meeting expectations. But so anyway, those are my fiction that I finished.
Okay, very good. Fiction. Okay, I'm just gonna talk about the ones that I'm just reading right now, just because that's what I have in front of me, book-wise. Although I did want to mention one that I don't have in front of me. I'm gonna do it right now before I forget. So I might have talked about this. I think I posted about it. It's called It was the book about the Lady Pirates. You're losing me. You're losing me. I can tell. Oh boy, did you lose me? Am I gone? Am I gone?
Okay. No, I'm hearing you better now.
Okay.
Say the name of the book one more time.
Okay.
Because it got all garbled up.
It's called The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi.
Yes. Is this the Lady Pirate one? I just saw it at content today, and I wanted to ask you how it was.
Honestly, Hannah, okay, so this is the same author. This is Shannon Chakraborty, and she's the one who wrote City of Brass.
Oh, she did?
Yes, she did.
I did not realize that this was her new. Yeah. Is this going to be a series?
I think it might be. The way she ended it, and like she built it into this one, there's going to be more adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi. And I have to say, like, I liked City of Brass.
Yeah, you did.
But I didn't.
You liked it better than I did.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna pick up the second one like immediately. Like I didn't feel like that. I was just like, oh, that was a nice book, and I haven't read any of them. There's two more, and I haven't read them. Not because I didn't like the first one, but just because I didn't feel like, oh, I really want to read these ones.
Right.
What I would say is, if the second pirate book had been out, I would have picked it up. Like,
that's really high praise coming from you, to be perfectly honest.
Like it was fun. Like, the lady pirates are fantastic. They're not all ladies, but there's a bunch of ladies in there. Yeah, and it was just like sort of a fun, but it's a pirate story, right? So it's not anything like too heavy or anything, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, and I felt also kind of like learning a lot about like where it was set, right? Because it was the Indian Ocean and like the sort of Persian Gulf area is kind of like where
okay, cool. Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I feel like I'm learning a lot about geography and like what was like going on in this area at this time. Because a lot of like what she's putting in the book, I mean, the characters are all fictional, of course, but she's putting them into a like fairly like historical setting, right?
That's amazing. That's really cool, sis.
Yeah. So anyway, I would definitely.
I'm gonna have to get that one.
Definitely recommend it. I think you would very much enjoy it. I really enjoyed it, and I am looking forward to. She definitely set it up for there to be more, so I have no doubt she'll be writing some more. And I am.
I liked her writing a lot. Yeah, and I liked her world building that she did in City of Brass. Again, I just wasn't that committed to the characters.
Yeah, I know. I feel like it was a character thing with me too, with City of Brass. I was like, no, I don't care about them enough.
Like, okay. Yeah. That was it for me. Yeah, it was entertaining. I enjoyed it, but yeah, it just wasn't. Yeah. Didn't quite have that hook for me.
Yeah, and I think like with this one, because she's like the lady pirate who is like the main character, she's older. She's like our age, Hannah. But she's got a daughter, right? So I am imagining that like we're gonna watch maybe this daughter sort of coming of age and how she's gonna deal with if she wants to be a pirate versus if she doesn't want to be a pirate, which we don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
Okay.
So anyway. And the side characters were also very good too. Like her friends and her, frenemies and everything. They were all very good.
That makes such a difference. Sometimes people don't think that matters. It really does. Complex, like flesh out characters, even when they aren't like the main characters, so matter. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So just a fun read. If anybody's just looking for a great lady pirate book, I absolutely recommend The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi. by Shannon Chakraborty. There you go. I'm also reading, Hannah gave me this one when I was back, Night Circuit, by Erin Morgenstern. I'm like that far in. I'm like halfway. I don't love it, but
yeah.
I'm reading it and enjoying it, but I don't like love it or anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm not in love with it, but it's just a good read. It's a good read. And then I'm still, middle March is going to be like, if I'm done with this by like middle December, it'll be a freaking miracle. That's how far I am.
We did get a couple of, I don't know if you saw them, probably not.
I don't think so.
But we got a couple of responses to your story on Middle March.
Oh.
The story that you put out from folks who weren't necessarily friends. So anyway, but they sent a couple of responses that were like, one of them was like, yeah, they kept talking to each other. It got really annoying. I stopped like 2/3 of the way through. I was like, oh God,
you do
Patty.
kind of wish that, like, could you guys just like get your shit together a little bit? It does kind of feel like that. It's very much, it's almost like Jane Austen on crack, right?
Oh.
Where, yeah, I mean, in the sense that like it's all of this sort of like people not quite communicating in a way that is effective.
Oh,
right. Like, sort of like it's always like this, you know, like the communication is just, but it's 800 pages of it. 800 pages of that, and it's like tiny print.
Never going to read
tiny
that.
print. No, don't even bother. You haven't even read Jane Austen, so like.
No, I never did read Jane. No, that's not true. I read Persuasion. It's a short one.
That's the tiniest one that there is. But anyway, it's a totally good story, but it is sort of like I just read it in the morning, like when I'm drinking my coffee, and like that's it. Yeah. It's like, nope, I'm just gonna like I'll hammer it out eventually. Yeah. Because it is one of those stories that's just like, okay, if these people would stop talking to each other and just like say what they mean, we could all just like move on, and the story would have been like 200 pages long, you know.
Well, gotta remember people didn't have a lot of other things to do, I guess, at the time.
It also, to be fair, it did come out originally as 8 books, right?
Oh, okay.
So 8 100-page, you know, novellas. Like that's not so bad,
right?
You know,
right.
It is.
It's interesting what works well serially that doesn't anymore sometimes.
Yeah, this definitely wouldn't. Nobody would be like, oh, I can't wait for the next one to come out. It's not like.
Everybody would be like, oh my God, there's more.
Yeah, they'd be like, okay, great, thanks, I'm done with that. So anyway, but it's a classic, and I'm gonna hunker down and get it done. That's not, I'm not worried about that. But anyway, that's what I'm working on right now. So.
Okay. Well, I am working on my nonfiction currently is Bittersweet by Susan Cain. Sorry, I'm listening to it, and I actually do have the physical book, but I gave it to Dad because he was very excited. Yeah. Susan Cain wrote Quiet, which is a book about introverts. It's a nonfiction book about introverts. This is called Bittersweet, and it is a nonfiction book she's researched about our humans' tendency to like the morose. So for her, it was like when she realized she loves like Leonard Cohen and that sad music, right? Like that creates such feeling and why we have that.
Like that.
Some of us. I'm talking to Patty. Some of us have that.
Some of she is talking.
But Patty does do that. Hallelujah, Leonard Cohen's, you know, right? One of his, you know, more famous and beat to a dead horse, except that we all still love it too, right? Like that's the crazy part. Like that's kind of what she's talking about. So it's very good. I highly recommend it. And I mean, I'm not sure where she's going yet. I mean, in terms of the end, but the stuff I'm learning, I've also like listened to a bunch of music on YouTube and watched some different videos that she's talked about. Like, so it's also like this kind of weird, like multimedia. Not that she's asking you to, but I'm just a nerd. And actually there was a book she was talking about because she's friends with the author, and it's a memoir of her. She lost a Stradivarius had been stolen from her. She was a prodigy violinist, and her Stradivarius got stolen, and so like so she has this memoir, which I am going to read because it sounds fascinating. But so like, do you know what I mean? Like, so there's just like lots of these pieces that I like the way her brain works and the way she writes and the way she tells story in the midst of this kind of like exploration of the sublime is really what she's doing. So it's pretty cool. And then, like I said, it's really good. I am doing 7 Days in June, which is also like, for those of you who are in the romance section at all, this has been huge. It was a Reese book club 2022, 2021, one of those 2 years. Yeah. And so it's been everywhere, and I just had never gotten around to it. And this is when I realized why Jasmine Guillory's feel so the difference. Like, but this took me a while to get into, but it took me about a third of the way, and then I was like, oh, I'm a little hooked. And then I woke up this morning, and I was like, I'll just read a chapter. I'll see how far I get. I was in bed until noon. My husband brought me breakfast and coffee in bed. No, I was a little earlier than noon.
Earlier than that, yeah, but
but he did bring me everything in bed, and I just read until he's like, the truck is ready. We need to go get the tree. Okay, coming. So, I'm only irritated that we're here because I can't quite get that finished, but it'll happen.
You got.
I'm not going to talk about that one. And then the other one, so Bittersweet, 7 Days in June, and then I am still finishing. Let's see, here we go. Mary Oliver Devotions, which our father bought me for Christmas 2 years ago, I think, and it's a collection of her poetry. Very big collection of her poetry.
Big, yeah.
But I do want to just show you my really pretty.
Okay.
It's really not that many. It's just a lot of poems. I've never really read Mary Oliver before. She's very nature-based, and it's taken me a while to figure this out. It took me a while. It took me halfway through the book. I'm still going to finish it. No worries. But she's very nature-based. She's a little spiritual, and she talks about, like, Jesus-y stuff. Because she's a very famous, like, considered in the Christian circles, a Christian poet, like, or one that a lot of, like, spiritual people use. And I've never really read her, and I started reading it, and I'm like, I don't know, like, really, you're gonna laugh so hard, Hattie. You're ready? The like, Rumi, I love. Rilke, oh my gosh, speaks to my soul. Adrienne Maree Brown, Give Me Every Year, like, just, and I don't know. And I don't even know if the dad likes her. I think he maybe just got it for me because it's Mary Oliver and she's a thing. But the poem that has probably spoken the most to me is about a dog. And, like, not everyone knows this about me. Animals aren't my thing. But I finally realized, but that's what it is. It's not just nature. She talks about animals all the time, which I just don't care about muskrats. I mean, that sounds so mean. That's not quite what I mean. Like, I don't connect to the divine or the sublime through animals. That is, like, just not in my makeup. And so that was what finally dawned on me, because the dog what was actually connecting for me was that connection to the sublime, but for my children who've been asking me for a dog for a lot of years already, and they're only 8. And the idea that, like, oh, maybe they could, like see the value of nature and beauty in this dog that I don't. I mean, it's just not where I find it. But it was really, like, all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's why this isn't. And it's not because the animals aren't beautiful creatures of God. They are, and they're so important. But, like, and I like looking at a swallow for a couple of seconds, and I enjoy thinking about how nature works. But, like, watching a swallow fly doesn't, like, bring me a deep, transcendent moment.
Yep.
And Mary Oliver, but I do get why she's so popular, though, too, then. Like, when I finally, like, that clicked, I was like, oh.
She's striking that chord with so many people, because so many people they feed their souls.
Yes. That's where they find that place. Amanda Gorman, she wrote, like, one poem about a whale, but it was really about Moby Dick. So,
yeah.
Anyway, those are the ones that I am currently reading.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, I'm gonna move on. I'll move us on real quickly because we're at 8:30 already, Hannah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just gonna share 2 books that I'm looking forward to. I just got both these books at the bookstore in the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
So I wanted to share.
Cool.
So this one I read last year. I think I read Vanessa Riley's Island Queen, and this one is Sister Mother Warrior. Also by Vanessa Riley. This one is about a couple of women who were part of the Haitian Revolution.
So cool, sis.
So I'm really excited to read this one. Island Queen was really quite good. And these are based, they're historical fiction, but they're a little bit more history, in the sense the settings are very historical, the people are historical. And then, you know, Vanessa Riley kind of just fills in to tell a good story given the historical information that we have. So anyway, so this is about a couple of women in the Haitian Revolution, which I'm very much looking forward to. Sister, Mother, Warrior.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. And then this is the other one I just picked up. This one's called Invisible. This is called Invisible. Let me read you the subtitle because it's long. The Forgotten Story of the Black Woman Lawyer Who Took Down America's Most Powerful Mobster, by Stephen L. Carter.
Really?
Yeah. And this was like, this is the 1930s. 1930 is like mafia boss. And I don't, what is this woman's name? Where is it? Is it on here? Oh my gosh. They're talking about her, but they don't have her name on here. This is terrible. Eunice Hunton Carter.
Oh my gosh. It's his grandmother. I haven't actually read the whole back, obviously.
That
this is about the author's grandmother who brought down a New York crime boss in the 1930s. She was a lawyer.
That is really super cool.
So this is super cool, and I'm really looking forward to it. So Invisible, the Forgotten Story of the Black Woman Lawyer Who Took Down America's Most Powerful Mobster. That's like the longest subtitle I've ever seen on a book.
It is. But it's amazing. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So these two are on my shelf, and I am very much looking forward to picking up both of them in the near future.
Super good. Okay, one little plug is, I haven't started it yet, but The Unexpected Inheritance of Inspector Chopra, which is our book club and cocktails book for July.
Yes.
So I got to get that going. Yep. It's right here. Yep. But the one I'm also excited about starting is called American War, a novel by Omar L. Akkad. Akkad. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I should have looked it up. But I read about this. There was a article about this particular book in one of my magazines.
Of course.
And called Endings. And so this is a speculative fiction and it's kind of, I think it must be based a little bit around climate change, like the thing that caused the big issue is a climate change sort of thing, like that created a bit of the apocalypse. But it's he is Canadian, and he's writing as though he was born in Cairo, Egypt, but grew up in Qatar.
Qatar.
Is that right? Qatar. And then but now he lives in Canada. But it's a new civil war in America. That's the story, is like whatever this thing was caused a civil war in America. And I just was like, oh, this sounds so interesting. And I love me some speculative fiction.
You do.
So I'm really excited about it. But I'm so proud of myself. I got it from the library. Look at that. Library.
You did. Good job. Good.
I also ordered 4 books from Content over the time I was there, for other books that I read about that I felt I needed. But I got this one from the library.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I know, it's terrible. I have a problem.
But that's okay. Your husband built you a new shelf, so you're good to go.
Yeah, I know. I have a brand new shelf to full of books that would already be full if the shelves are on there, but that's not the point. So, I actually do have to go because my children are trying to wave at me, but they're being very kind about it. So thank you, gentlemen. I do appreciate that.
They're good little guys, the both of them.
I'm not sure when we have another one of these scheduled, but
I don't know.
We'll let you know.
We haven't scheduled yet, so we'll just have to let everybody know once we figure it out.
Yep. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But, so I have to go.
Gotta go. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Love everybody. Tell us what you're reading. We want to hear about it. And we will talk to you in a few weeks when we get another one of these on the calendar.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Good night,
all right. Thanks. Right. That's how in this.